Now, if I may, it gives me great pleasure to introduce my next speaker, Armand Angeli. Now, Armand has a long international career in operational management, finance, and international business development. Hello, Armand, how are you?
Hello, Brian. Thank you for the introduction.
Okay, and as well as working with the likes of IBM, GE, PwC, Grant Thornton, and HP, Armand leads the French CFO network, DFCG International. He's the chairman of the RPA, Intelligent Automation Shared Services and Outsourcing Committee of that CFO network, which has more than 400 top finance executives. So I'm incredibly grateful that Armand has had the time to join us. Please use this opportunity to enjoy his presentation and questions, please, for Armand, and really pull on his expertise. So Armand, with that, over to you.
Thank you, Brian. So let me see. So bonjour from Paris. So it's the afternoon here. So bonjour, good morning, and good afternoon to all of you. It's a pleasure to be with you today. And so, as Brian mentioned, I am going to try and share with you the learnings of the committee I'm chairing as part of the French CFO associations. We like to share our experience, good and bad, and we have this think tank of about 400 people. And of course, the topic of the day is RPA and iterative automation. So you might want to ask why RPA and also shared services in my title is because, as you may know, RPA really started in the finance shared services centers, where we do have lots of volume of data, where we have lots of people working, and where we have stable processes. Hence, we started discussing RPA as part of the future of shared services. And of course, you're welcome to join the team, the DFCG team, to share with us. And if you want to write articles about your experience, be my guest. We take articles from any writers every month. So just to start, let me give you maybe like a quick overview of what we think about RPA. RPA is a great opportunity to start automation, but it's mainly a great opportunity for RPA vendors, founders, analysts, consultants, event organizers, and sometimes new careers. And when it's well done, we do get more efficient processes, more compliant processes. We do get reduced cost, reduced FTEs, instead of sometimes we don't say we are reducing FTEs. We are saying we are giving back hours to the business. We do get happier employees, and CFOs and business more satisfied with improved and automated processes. So why am I saying that we should maybe be cautious about RPA and automation? Because it's a big fad. It's a la mode, as we say in Paris. This market is growing quite rapidly, both for software of the RPA vendors, but also for the services around RPA. And we do have lots of expectations, maybe too much. We've been told that with RPA we can reduce our workforce by 80%, that it's very cheap to put in place, and we don't need IT, and you can start tomorrow. So this is what we've been told, but this is not really the truth. So we do have to be cautious. But when we do it well, we do have good successes, and that's what I would like to say here. So why RPA, why automation in the finance area? Is because most of our companies, most of our CFOs, they want to transform the companies, they want to transform the finance function, and they want to bring digital transformation. And so how do we do that? If you look back maybe like 25 years ago, in finance, we're starting by centralizing. We created what we call the shared services centers, or at least mutualized teams. Then we said, oh, well, let's maybe relocate the people and in shared services centers, maybe let's outsource them, let's put them in a different location. Next, we move to standardizing processes with lots of procedures which allowed the standardization. Then we optimized with what we call Lean Six Sigma processes. And more recently, we started digitizing and now automating. So this has been the journey between centralizing to automation. And you can see, depending on where you are, we are able to become more productive by nice percentages. And historically, as I just said, we've been leveraging people. Then we leverage processes, improving processes through Six Sigma and so on. And then came technology. So we said, wow, let's use ERPs, let's use cloud. But this was not enough. And we moved into robotics and RPA and the likes in the most recent years. And as you can see here, robotics has been one of the main key lever to transform the finance function. And I'm sure you know this this picture from our friends from HFS. The idea is to have blurry limit between front office and back office, and have what we call one office, and hyper connected company of with no more papers, and the data flowing from back to front with seamlessly. When we asked my colleagues in finance so what is their top priority, then they will ask you right away process optimization. Actually, no, right now they would say, because of COVID, they would say my first priority is cash. And while cash was not maybe on the top of the list, it becomes now on the top of the list. But improving cash it can also be obtained through process optimization. So in any case, until most recently, the top priority was process optimization. And when you ask CFOs, where do you think you should invest and which technology is going to improve finance performance, 35% of the CFO will tell you, I want to use RPA because I'm told, or I believe this is going to be the top, the most rewarding investment for to transform my finance. And of course, then comes big data, artificial intelligence, BI, and so on. But first is RPA. At least that's what the CFOs are convinced of. And even in the next 3 years, the CFOs think that the finance accounting profession will benefit from RPA, from data science and artificial intelligence. So it's a clear situation. And even going further, when we ask them, where are you really investing? They will tell you that they invest mainly in finance and accounting for automation, finance and accounting and GBS. I mean, what we call the new breed of shared services centers, GBS, Global Business Services. Okay, so now the question is automation. What do we mean by automation? Because we used to have Excel, and we could do macros with Excel, and it's similar to automation. But then we ask ourselves, what about ERPs? I mean, ERPs was supposed to be the best automation tool, because with ERP you can run everything in your company. And then what about RPA? I mean, process automation. What about these new AI tools? What about these vertical specific applications? So you see, you actually right now it's there's some kind of a confusion about automation, because it can be all of the above. And when CFOs, or actually when purchasing departments are asked to go for RFPs for some packages on automation, they tend to mix everything. You know, Microsoft, ERPs, RPA, niche, vertical applications. So this, and we need to be careful there, because these are different types of solutions. And again, what I would like to say here, robotization, digitization is great, but we should not forget that we should first optimize processes. And this has been one of the issue in the past few years. It continues to be an issue. We jump too fast into automation without looking first what we can optimize, or actually even eliminate in terms of processes. So technology has been a great catalyst, but let's not forget the review, the assessment of processes. And but when we say, okay, let's go for robot, RPA. So let's ask ourselves, what is RPA? I'm sure you all know, but just as a reminder is kind of a stupid micro, just mimicking what someone is doing on his keyboard, or his or her keyboard. It's nothing more than that. So it's software, again, mimicking what people are doing. And so the people typing on keyboards, they are working with applications, with the screens, and so this RPA software is just making what they are doing, and meaning that when we go outside, when we do have exceptions, then this robot doesn't know what to do. So when we have exceptions, when you need human judgment, then you cannot use basic RPA, and so we need to go what we call cognitive computing. Again, I'm sure you know what it is, you know the difference, but I just wanted to remind you that when it comes to deciding human judgment, when it comes to playing or using unstructured data, RPA cannot do it. We need some new breed of tools, and we call them cognitive RPA or AI, actually, or intelligent automation. The good news is most of the processes in our companies can be automated in some ways, whether it's finance. Here you can see the sub processes, and we have split the big process into sub processes, and you can see that part of almost all of the processes can be somewhat automated. This is finance, but the same for HR, It's the same for IT. Here, the most important is to look at colors, and you can see that most of it can be automated somewhat. And again, here, when you split by sub-processes, you see that the importance is not to read the sub-processes, but is to see that you have dark colors in all the processes of our companies, finance, IT, and HR. But I would like to maybe to stress the fact that F&A, finance and accounting, after banking actually and insurance, has been the main spot for automation. And you can see here the dark orange color, the first column for F&A. So we are the finance people or finance companies, finance organizations are the key target for automation. And actually, here it's from Bloomberg. It seems like up to 94% of the US accountant and auditors jobs are likely to be impacted by automation. So here we are saying impacted by automation, 94%. But when we go now deeper into the finance and accounting processes, depending on whether they are transactional, like cash disbursement, like payroll, you can automate up to 70%. But when it comes to more processes, more closer to strategic decisions, to management decision, then we go from 70% at the bottom to 20% at the top of the pyramid. So, meaning that not everything can be automated, and it's a misconception that RPA will automate all finance and accounting jobs. And actually, what I would like to say here already is that our experience is that we can automate maybe 10 to 15% of the tasks of an employee in front of his PC, his or her PC, not 80 or 90%. And which means already that if you only eliminate 10 to 15% of the activities of a person, that person can do things which are more interesting, maybe can have more coffee or tea, but is still there. It does not disappear. So the concept, there's a big misconception that RPA will eliminate jobs. And maybe I want to jump to conclusion, but I can already say here that unless you review your processes, your engineer processes, you will not get much productivity. But if you do ahead of time, review your processes, you can get up to 20–30% of productivity for finance, and actually same for maybe other functions. But for finance, you can reach up to 20–30% of productivity by reviewing processes, not by implementing RPA only. And also something to keep in mind is that there is a big confusion between a task, activity, and processes. We say that the robot RPA RPA means process, right? But actually, the when we the actual work we do is not automating processes, but automating tasks. A process is lots of tasks put together, and not only not simple processes, not mean total process. And just to clarify, what we can automate are simple tasks like creating sales order, like going into the web to get data, to confirm a client or a supplier information. That's very basic. And but when we add more features to the robots, the robot becomes more intelligent, and we get into these cognitive robots. And while right now we are at the RPA level, and RPA, as we all know, we have these top suppliers called Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere, and UiPath, and UiPath being currently the leader. And the way you go from simple macros to cognitive to AI is by going from rules-based to judgments-based activities, which can be replaced partly by machines, while when it's very simple, then only human can do it. And again here, in red in the middle, you see the trend from RPA to cognitive computing to artificial intelligence, and this is based on going from looking at the bottom here, going from structured to unstructured data, and or at the top, going from triggers to dynamic language. And so when you have unstructured data, when it's all, for example, when you have rules based on dynamic language, then you are at the AI. RPA is way before that. And that's why now we are moving from simple RPA, which we call attended RPA, to unattended, meaning mostly working on servers, and then that don't need you typing or keying or starting the robot. It's working in the server in the background, and then when these robots they talk to each other, it becomes more autonomous on the server. And when you have AI features, then you get what you call cognitive RPA, or you reach intelligent automation, but we are not there yet. We are in kind of the middle. And just as a reminder, I'm sure you know all of that, but it's good to know that we are starting from unattended, attended robots, and going to virtual agent to platforms. And because of that, we have lots to choose from. And I mentioned before the 3 vendors, but you can see that we have lots of vendors all over the place. Depending on which analyst you talk to, the classification can be different. And these vendors I've seen have changed throughout the years, and the leaders now in actually, again, UiPath, Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism, and WorkFusion. So these are the leaders for RPA, but we see now what we call the low-code applications, where you can do it almost looks like RPA, but you can do it yourself. It's like Lego, small boxes you put together, and this is a new breed of automation. So we go from low-code to RPA to cognitive RPA. And when we don't have all the budget, when we don't have a real strategy for automation, when we have emergencies, then we see more and more what we call robot as a service or automation as a service, where you don't even need to buy the license. You just go to a third party and you buy your robot, which you pay by the hour, by the month, instead of paying for the full license. And having to code the robot and to maintain the robot. So that's what we see more and more, automation or robot as a service. And what we also see, and here the example is for UiPath, because it's a leader. So UiPath, RPA vendors, they are within this ecosystem of BPM, of artificial intelligence, of document understanding, process mining, and these RPA vendors, they are actually growing in terms of functionalities. And you see vendors like UiPath having now functionality in process mining, in document understanding. So this is how it's evolving now, going from simple RPA to cognitive RPA to RPA with lots of functions, and which now we call now platforms. So we have gone from specific functions to more complex functions. And while when you see here on the left, you see a pure RPA for UiPath. When you see data extraction, like Antworks, the second from the last, then these they tend to the functions represented by vendors. They tend to be brought together within platforms, and that's why we went from RDA, meaning like simple automation of what you do on your screen, to process automation, and now we call it intelligent automation, putting some AI with your RPA. And when you put all together, OCR, AI tools, RPA, chatbots, then you have, again, intelligent automation. And the next, the step further actually becomes what we call automation platform, sorry. When you have the tools, when you have the system integrators, you even have ERPs. So that's the way to go. And actually, the RPA has been a great catalyst for the finance function. It was easy to start with. You didn't need IT to start your first POCs. And so finance people got used to automation, and now they're adding all these new functions, automation functions, process mining, and as part of intelligent automation, as part of platforms, and they don't dare going for automation, working with IT to transform their functions. And as I said before, while we started with basic RPA vendors providing basic RPA, now these RPA vendors, they have grown, they have added functions, and they are now talking about intelligent automation platform. And you see the most of the same guys, UiPath, Automation Anywhere, Antworks, also in this field. And that's a good summary. We went from task to smart automation with more workflows, with more intelligent processes to platforms. Finance people, they of course, they look at all what RPA is bringing, but they also want to make sure that they safeguard their investment in legacy system. So here I would like to stress what RPA, cognitive RPA can bring, which is integrating applications. You have all these legacy ERPs, all these legacy applications that didn't talk to each other, but now by bringing RPA, they can talk to each other, and this way you can safeguard your assets. You don't have to throw what you had, and actually you can wait a few years before you replace everything. So integration of legacy systems, and also what we see at the top here, it's employee well-being. Finance people, they're happy with RPA, with these new tools, because it does bring employee well-being when it's well done. So I won't go into the other the benefits of RPA. We all know them, but I just wanted to stress these two: investment asset safeguard and employee well-being. And here, as I said before, when you look at what RPA has brought, it's only in 1% of cases that we are really looking for the elimination of headcounts. So we look first at improving customer satisfaction, productivity, and eliminating headcount is not the main objective. And as the summary, we can say that the finance people, they are looking at RPA, at cognitive RPA, at digital automation to help accelerate their digital transformation, to improve customer experience, that you don't have to work with paper. You go seamlessly from front to back office. Indeed, the workforce is more productive, and sometimes you do reduce cost. But the main thing is a catalyst. RPA is a good catalyst to accelerate your digital your transformation. And again, all the finance functions, all the CFOs, they want to transform the functions and become more productive. Something that the CFOs are looking at is compliance. So RPA does bring, automation does bring compliance, but also the other good thing is that you can use all these tools to automate your business controls, your internal audit, your external audit. So RPA has been a great lever to improve compliance, and of course speed auditing, and hopefully maybe reduce the fees of the auditors. We are finance people, so we are looking at prices and total cost of ownership. Here we have to be careful. RPA is not that cheap, and when you put together license, maintenance, IT infrastructure, sector of expertise, third-party help, it's not only a few hundred euros or dollars or pounds that you see, is more like tens of thousands of say 20-30,000 per robot per year. So the finance people are not careful when they are told that it's very cheap. And of course, we are now rethinking about our shared services centers, nearshore, offshore, and in a few years back, we would say that the robots were going to replace our shared services centers or our offshore BPOs, which is not really the case. It's just you have to balance offshore, nearshore, and robots. A few words maybe here of conclusion. Time is running. The finance people have understood that to do a good job in terms of automation, they have to look into selecting the right process. You cannot automate everything if the process is not stable, has lots of exceptions. You cannot automate, so you have to be careful. And the other thing, which is key, is that you need data, quality data, and you need structured data. So we see more and more now, in addition to the RPA, we see the review of processes, through the use now of process mining. That's the big thing also now, and also by using what we call cognitive reading tools or document understanding tools to transform the 80% of the data we have in our companies, which tends to be unstructured, into structured data, so it can be ingested by our automation tools. So process selection, process mining, transforming unstructured data into structured data is key for our finance processes to be automated properly. And I believe I will stop here, because I could go on and on. And of course, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. I can take questions outside of this session. You have my name, and I'm back for you. And I will stop my presentation and take any questions you have. Brian.
Great. Fantastic presentation, Armand. Just to answer, first of all, as with all of the presentations in the not only this event but the series, they will be made available on demand after the event. So Armand, a lot of people have been asking for the presentation and the slides after the event, so seems to have definitely hit a particular nerve, so and gone over very well, so thank you very much for that. So fascinating insight into the way the CFO might look at things, which is always different from everybody else. I know I have my own CFO that looks at things slightly different than we do, but we get it through from there. So going with a couple of quick questions, if I may, so just putting through there. So Anna Martinez says, first of all, awesome presentation. Where do you see process mining? Is this before or after RPA, or in between? Because there's obviously a lot of kind of interwoven technologies and processes. Where do you see that as being, where should it ideally sit in your view?
Okay, there is the ideal situation and there is not real life. Because of the expectations for RPA, we started with RPA and then we realized that we were not doing a good job in selecting processes. So we went from RPA to process mining. So right now it's RPA then process mining, but actually it should have been process mining first. I mean, having a real strategy with process mining and then going into automation, and possibly even not use RPA because you have eliminated the process. So this should have been the process. This should be the strategy. First looking at process mining and then automating what you need to automate. But also process mining can be very complex. You end up with lots of data. You don't know what to do with the data. So you have also to be careful about all these big tools of process mining. So you should talk about more about process discovery, using common sense, using business sense instead of these big tools, because tools are not doing the job. You know, it's the people doing the job at the end of the day, right? So so it's process mining is more like process discovery with human brain, and meaning you can also start by using Six Sigma and you know, all these old tools, and so, but to make a quick answer to your question, let's review. We should review first the processes and then decide what needs to be automated.
Okay, fascinating. Thank you for that. I'm not sure that would go down well with a lot of the RPA vendors, but your process mining community might see you as a bit of a champion. How did that situation arrive, do you think? Why did we go from an RPA perspective, skip, in your opinion, a technology or part of the jigsaw, to end at a point and then have to work backwards almost? How did that kind of situation arrive as you see it?
Because we have been oversold RPA automation. Actually, we thought RPA was going to be the solution to all the all the illnesses of this world. But the good thing is, even though it's not the case, RPA has been a great catalyst, has been a great tool to make us think. So just for that, RPA is great. And even if you fail with your first POCs, you should go for RPA, but not expect everything from RPA, and think a bit more and go back into other tools that you can leverage.
Okay, fair comment. I'll leave that open for RPA specialists to have the right to reply, as I'm sure they will during this event. Moving on from that one, and thank you very much for that. I have a question.
Brian, you know what? I'm going to interrupt you because RPA vendors, they are smart and they have realized what I just said. So now they're adding what we call process discovery to their own offerings. So
okay.
take UiPath. Sorry, again, UiPath is a leader, so it's easy to quote them. They have a great tool to do process discovery. So they are creating a platform because they see the need of assessing processes at the same time you automate. So it's not one against the other. They should go together.
Okay, no, that makes perfect sense. And I know there's a lot of really smart people at UiPath, and that doesn't surprise me at all. So next question, sort of developing on from that, if I may, Armand. Madhumita, and please, if I've pronounced that wrong, do forgive me. What upskilling and reskilling of employees is required to reach sort of cognitive RPA and AI? Now, I know that's quite a difficult question because I suspect it will be different from industry to industry, company to company, but in your experience, what have you seen are the sort of minimum requirements that the workforce is really required to start that journey or get close to being well along the way?
You know, the good news is, and it's a case with most of the younger generation, they're all like somewhat gigs, and even if you don't have these top diplomas, you can start with RPA, with automation, because it's common sense. And as I said at the very beginning, RPA has brought new careers to people, or careers actually to people who had no diploma. So you don't need much for people to start in automation. Of course, when you go into these very complex AI tools, then you need to be a data scientist. But we don't need a data scientist everywhere. So you need both. You need people who have just a sense for IT tools, for using computers, and we need these data scientists. So there's place for both. And you can and I believe you can retrain the people because it's it's kind of scary from outside, but when you dig into it, it's kind of simple to go into automation. Sorry to say.
Okay, well, fascinating insights, and really enjoying your spin on things. And as a development on that, I've got a question from Pedro, who similarly says, great presentation. What he's looking is, biases obviously affect the data and as it's delivered. How do you manage this to reduce bias impact on process results? What in your experience, what have you seen ways of being able to cope with that and sort of deliver unbiased actual kind of outputs?
Great question. We tend to rely too much on the outcome of this algorithm, So we have to exercise caution, because what we get out of these tools is actually is based on statistics. So, and you cannot go to the market as a CFO and say, oh, I believe this year my result is X, but with a probability of 80%. You know, so you can't do that. So you can use these tools to derive the results, but you have to be careful, and so you need human brains. So that's why I don't like to call these tools AI tools. I mean, it's artificial intelligence, but I would like to call them actually intelligent automation tools. So they bring intelligence to the people, but they not replace the people. The machine will never replace the people. So it's both. Machine is here to help the CFOs, but not to replace them.
Fantastic, Armand. Thank you for that, and a truly fascinating presentation. And if any of the sort of responses I'm getting are anything to go by, I can imagine that your social media account will be very busy shortly in terms of that. Really enjoyed it. Look forward to catching up as we go forward, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Armand. A truly great presentation there from Armand, and you can, as previously outlined, catch up with it on the on-demand version, which will be available after the event has concluded. Coming up next, at the top of the hour, an equally erudite and fascinating presenter, Mark McGregor, author, consultant, and coach. Mark's been active in this space for almost 30 years, and he has a truly fascinating presentation coming up, which intriguingly is entitled Automate, Invigorate, or Obliterate. So I look forward to seeing you all back at the top of the hour, and that's it for this session. But don't miss out on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.